Most people believe success comes only to those with special talent, luck, or perfect timing. They doubt themselves, waiting for proof before acting. But doubt is the real barrier. The truth is, when you trust your own decisions and take bold steps, confidence grows and doors begin to open. The voice that steals dreams. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, and below you lies everything you've ever wanted. Your dreams, your goals, your deepest desires. They're all there waiting for you to take that leap. But there's something holding you back. It's not the height. It's not the distance. It's that voice in your head whispering, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not worthy enough. That voice has a name. It's called doubt, and it's been with you longer than you care to remember. It was there when you wanted to raise your hand in class, but didn't. It was there when you wanted to ask someone out, but out. It was there when you had that brilliant idea, but convinced yourself someone else had probably thought of it first. That voice has been your constant companion, your uninvited guest, your dream killer. But here's what I want you to understand. That voice is not you. It's not your truth. It's not your reality. It's a learned response, a protective mechanism that your mind created to keep you safe from disappointment, from rejection, from failure. But in trying to protect you from falling, it's also preventing you from flying. You see, doubt is like a thief in the night. Though it doesn't announce itself with fanfare, it doesn't kick down your door and steal your dreams in broad daylight. No, it's much more subtle than that. It whispers, it suggests, it plants seeds of uncertainty that grow into forests of fear. It makes you question your abilities, your worth, your right to pursue what you want. Think about it. How many times have you talked yourself out of something before you even tried? How many opportunities have you let slip by because you convinced yourself you weren't ready, weren't qualified, weren't deserving? How many dreams have you buried under layers of what if and but what about? And I don't think I can. I met a man once who told me he had always wanted to write a book. He had the story in his head, the characters fully formed, the plot completely mapped out. But every time he sat down to write, that voice would start its familiar song. Who are you to think you can write? There are millions of books already. What makes you think yours will be any different? What makes you think anyone will want to read it? Years passed, the story remained in his head, growing stale, losing its vibrancy. One day he saw a book in a store that was remarkably similar to his idea. Someone else had written it. Someone else had overcome their doubt and brought their vision to life. And there he stood, holding in his hands what could have been his creation, his contribution to the world. That's the cost of doubt. It doesn't just prevent you from getting what you want. It ensures that someone else will get it instead. While you're sitting on the sidelines questioning your abilities, someone with half your talent but twice your courage is out there making it happen. But here's the thing about doubt. It's not based on facts. It's based on fear. It's based on past experiences, on things people said to you, on failures you've experienced, on rejections you faced. It's based on a story you've been telling yourself for so long that you've forgotten it's just a story, not the truth. Not the truth. The truth is that you have within you right now everything you need to get what you want. The truth is that your dreams chose you just as much as you chose them. The truth is that the very fact that you can conceive of something, that you can imagine it, that you can desire it, means you have the capacity to achieve it. Your doubt is not a reflection of your limitations. But this process doesn't happen automatically. It requires conscious effort, consistent practice, and unwavering commitment to your own growth and potential. It requires you to become the architect of your own confidence, the engineer of your own empowerment, the builder of your own belief. You see, the same mind that constructed the prison of doubt has the power to build the palace of possibility. The same imagination that created scenarios of failure can envision pathways to success. The same voice that has been your critic can become your champion. The question is not whether you can rebuild the architecture of your mind. The question is whether you will, whether you'll take responsibility for the construction of your confidence, whether you'll invest the time and energy required to create a mental environment that supports your dreams rather than sabotages them. Because here's the truth. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are their creator. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are the author of your future. You are not limited by your history. You are empowered by your possibility, the weight of others' opinions. There's a story I want to share with you about a young artist who spent years painting in secret. She had talent, real, undeniable talent, but she kept her canvases hidden in the back of her closet, away from the eyes of the world. When asked why she didn't share her work, her answer was always the same. What if people don't like it? What if they think it's terrible? What if they laugh? This young woman had allowed the opinions of people who had never even seen her work to dictate her actions. She had given strangers, critics, and even friends the power to determine the fate of her dreams before she had even dared to pursue them. She was carrying the weight of others' opinions, and that weight was crushing her spirit. How many of us live this way? How many of us make decisions based not on what we want, not on what we believe is right, not on what aligns with our values and dreams, but on what we think others will think of us? How many of us have become prisoners of perception, slaves to the approval of people whose opinions, when we really examine them, shouldn't matter at all? The weight of others' opinions is one of the heaviest burdens we can carry. And yet, it's entirely self-imposed. No one forces us to care what they think. No one requires us to seek their approval. No one demands that we sacrifice our dreams on the altar of their acceptance. We choose to carry this weight, often without even realizing we're doing it. But why do we do this? Why do we give others so much power over our lives? The answer lies in our fundamental human need for connection and belonging. We're social creatures wired to seek acceptance from our tribe. In ancient times, being rejected by the group could mean death. So our brains evolved to prioritize acceptance above almost everything else. But here's what our primitive brains don't understand. The opinions of others are not facts. They're not universal truths. They're not divine pronouncements that determine our worth or our potential. They're simply perspectives colored by the experiences, biases, fears, and limitations of the people who hold them. When someone says you can't do something, they're often really saying they can't do it or they're afraid to try. When someone criticizes your dreams, they're often revealing their own regrets about the dreams they abandoned. When someone doubts your abilities, they're often projecting their own insecurities onto you. I once knew a man who wanted to start his own business. He had a solid plan, sufficient savings, and years of experience in his industry. But every time he was about to take the leap, he would talk to his family, his friends, his colleagues, and every time they would fill his head with doubt. Too risky, they said. What if you fail? They asked. You should be grateful for your steady job, they advised. And in that moment, the only opinion that will matter is your own. The prison of perfectionism. Let me ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable. How many projects have you started but never finished because they weren't perfect? How many opportunities have you passed up because you weren't perfectly prepared? How many dreams have you postponed because the conditions weren't perfectly aligned? If you're like most people, the answer is too many to count. And the culprit behind this paralysis has a name: perfectionism. It masquerades as a virtue, presenting itself as a commitment to excellence, a dedication to quality, a refusal to settle for mediocrity. But in reality, perfectionism is one of the most insidious forms of self-sabotage known to humanity. Perfectionism is doubt dressed up in fancy clothes. It's fear wearing the mask of high standards. It's procrastination posing as preparation. And it has killed more dreams, destroyed more potential, and wasted more talent than perhaps any other single factor in human achievement. Here's the dirty little secret about perfectionism. It's not really about creating perfect work. It's about avoiding criticism, rejection, and failure. It's about maintaining the illusion that you could be great if you just tried, without ever having to risk the possibility that you might not be as great as you imagine. I knew a woman once who spent 3 years writing the first chapter of a book. 3 years, one chapter. She revised it hundreds of times, polished every sentence until it gleamed, crafted every paragraph with the precision of a master jeweler, and that chapter was brilliant, truly exceptional. But she never wrote chapter 2. Why? Because chapter 1 had become so perfect in her mind that she was terrified. Chapter 2 wouldn't measure up. She was paralyzed by her own excellence, trapped by her own standards, imprisoned by her own expectations. She had created a masterpiece that prevented her from creating anything else. That's the paradox of perfectionism. In trying to create something perfect, we often create nothing at all. In trying to avoid making mistakes, we make the biggest mistake of all. We don't begin. In trying to ensure that everything we do is extraordinary, we ensure that we do nothing. But here's what perfectionists don't understand. Perfection is not the enemy of progress. It's the enemy of completion. Every masterpiece you've ever admired, every achievement you've ever respected, every success story you've ever celebrated was created by someone who was willing to put imperfect work into the world and improve it over time. Think about your favorite book. Do you think the author's first draft was perfect? Think about your favorite song. Do you think the artist got it right on the first try? Think about your favorite movie. Do you think every scene was flawless from the beginning? Of course not. These works became great through a process of creation, feedback, revision, and improvement. They became excellent not because they started perfect, but because someone was willing to start imperfect and make them better. The perfectionist believes that there's a right time to begin, a perfect moment when all the stars align, when all the conditions are ideal, when all the obstacles are removed. But that moment never comes. There will always be another skill to learn, another preparation to make, another excuse to wait. The successful person understands that the right time to begin is now with whatever resources you have, whatever knowledge you possess, whatever abilities you've developed. They understand that you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Perfectionism is also the enemy of learning. When we demand perfection from ourselves, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to fail, to make mistakes, to discover what doesn't work. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's the stepping stone to success. Mistakes are not evidence of inadequacy. They're ingredients of improvement. Every failure teaches us something we couldn't learn any other way. Every mistake reveals a weakness we can strengthen. Every setback provides information we can use to adjust our approach. But the perfectionist, in their desperate attempt to avoid these negative experiences, also avoids the learning and growth that comes from them. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you had never been afraid of imperfection. What would you have tried? What would you have created? What would you have achieved? What relationships would you have pursued? What risks would you have taken? What dreams would you have chased? The truth is, the people you admire most, the achievers you respect, the creators who inspire you, none of them waited for perfection. They all started before they felt ready. They all began with imperfect knowledge, inadequate resources, and uncertain outcomes. What made them different wasn't their lack of doubt or fear. It was their willingness to act in spite of doubt and fear. Here's a liberating truth. You have permission to be imperfect. You have permission to start before you're ready. You have permission